Morality.
Tonight, that is not the proper camera. We try to make up for our embarrassment and are failing right out of the gate by taking a look at the latest episode of Picard and Mando, and we'll probably talk some DS9 and Ahsoka. All this coming up right now on The Writer Brothers. And welcome back to the best place to be on Tuesday night. I am, of course, your host, Petey York, joined, as always, by Mr. Pollo Zapatos, Mr. Skogly Yoten, who likes to keep coming back for more, and, of course, the lovely H. Marie. The lovely Corione witch in residence, unfortunately, is down with the sickness, and so once again, we wish him well, so any good thoughts, prayers, vibes, whatever you believe in, or I guess don't believe in, any kind of good energy we can send our friend Corione. Brother, we love you, we miss you, and we wish we were here to talk about, because we got a lot to unpack. We got a couple of different episodes on both Star Wars and Star Trek to go over. And, but we're going to get right into it with, seeing how everyone's doing. John, how you doing today?
Oh, I am doing quite well. I've had an eventful, weekend, and, pretty hyped for the new release of the new Star Wars game, at the very least. Everything else, TBD, we'll discuss in a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. A Nemesis of Eden says, "Hey, Let H. Marie, I hope you're doing well tonight." H. Marie, you care to take that one? Maybe? Okay, well, guess maybe not doing so well. Skogly, how are you tonight, man?
Super duper. It's been a great day, actually. Super positive vibes all around.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we got a pretty positive discussion overall here to get going on. So of course, if you consider yourself even, well, I don't know, I will always be a Star Wars fan till the day I die. I personally don't give a shit. I mean, how much Disney ruins it, mainly not because I'm okay with it by any means. I'm not okay with it, but I just am done letting corporations dictate my feelings on stuff to those extremes. I'm at the point, especially with this show, where I will evaluate each product that I decide to evaluate if I'm interested in it, and I'll give an honest critique. And, if it works for you as well, great. If it doesn't, especially when it comes to my fellow diehard Star Trek fans who Picard unfortunately isn't sticking the landing on, it's
Fair.
I'm sorry. I don't want to make you say that you're wrong, but I feel my opinions change just because somebody else doesn't like something and vice versa. It's a two-way street on that one. Eddie Arndt writes in, "What's up, guys? Hope you are doing well." What's up, Eddie? We are doing well. Better now that you're here to join the discussion and share your thoughts. We always appreciate you in the comment section. Go ahead, John.
With the reviewing of things like Star Wars and the future of Star Wars, like, we were Star Wars fans before any of this. We were Star Wars fans when it was a thing to, like, be ashamed of for a long time. So, like, now there's actual shame in some of the products that are associated with the name, and that's part of life. Honestly, like sometimes your family does things that you cannot justify, but that doesn't mean they're not your family. And Star Wars is, in a way, part of the family. It's part of the childhood that for me personally, I lived more Star Wars-esque than anybody that didn't, like I didn't technically, ever try to be a Jedi. I mean, I did 100% definitely.
I still am trying, but that's just me.
Give the automatic doors a little wave as you go into the supermarket.
Always. If you don't do that, I'm suspicious of you.
Oh, when you're trying to get somebody to, like, notice you, you don't force wave a little bit, like, turn this way.
Or, when you're walking into the boss's office and you will give me a promotion. You will pay me more money. What do you mean? I am not fired.
This is my religion.
Yeah, exactly. I speak in commands. I
have spoken.
Yeah, I have spoken. Yeah, no, we'll get into that too. But some exciting news, or maybe not so exciting, depending on your opinion, for Star Wars was announced with a plethora of new shows. Another series about Rey training the Jedi after last suck wank. God damn it. Man.
About Rey.
I was so...
There's a nice thing about Rey before you jump into what you rightfully should jump into, and this is a joke. Just so we're aware, I'm trying to be facetious. Rey didn't receive any training. So, like, whatever we get is new.
The only good thing about it is that Daisy Ridley is genuinely a nice person.
You know what? You know what, you guys, John, you guys both just inspired this idea. The movie might actually be good. Okay, and here's why. Hear me out. Before you minimize our window and close that, let me give you the reason why I think the Rey movie could be good. Okay, so John, excellent point, right? She didn't receive any training. So she goes to try and train a new crop of Jedi and basically just throws them off a cliff and then goes and finds their remains and is, like, surprised. It's like, wait, I don't understand. They don't just magically know how to do stuff? And that'll be the whole movie. It's like she keeps cycling through Padawans and getting people killed because they don't magically have her talent, so she can't train anybody. So that's it.
Here's the even better part, dude. Like, she goes and just tries to destroy everything that we've known and loved. And, as she tries to do it, all she does is just basically justify any and every Sith that comes after it. Because, like, we know she's not going to start with the kids because she's going to be like, that's a horrible way to train Force sensitives. So she's going to start with the 18, 20-somethings, and they're going to have all of the angst that comes with it. Like, imagine if Anakin was picked up at 20. Right?
Well, some argue that's where episode 1 should have started, but continue.
So, like, we're going to get so many, like, Cobra Kai, Karate Kid kids with powers everywhere. Like, it doesn't matter where this entire G9-tuplet...
It's a spin-off factory.
We can fix it because we now have a source of a galactic failure.
You know what's sad is these horrible ideas are actually not half bad. That's how much Disney Star Wars sucks.
No, that's how much it just leaves windows wide open. And I totally believe that any competent writer can fix this because there's so much room to fix. Like, they could literally go anywhere as long as it's above where they've been.
Salty Traveling Sea, I believe first-time commenter, if at least as far as I can remember. First of all, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Writes in, you cats talking smack about KK's postmenopausal patriarchy tantrum? Yes. I was actually just about to get into that, Salty Traveling Sea, but I'm letting John finish his thoughts real quick.
We're also trying to provide a tangible way through this cluster of a mess.
No, I know. So I'm just gonna give you guys my timeline of events, and I know we gotta talk about Mandalorian later, but maybe we'll just make the Mando segment shorter. I don't know. I really just don't care about Mandalorian right now. But
Star Wars, dude.
Here's the sequence of events that went down for me regarding the pop culture. So first, Mandalorian last week was just the absolute worst. I really tried to go to bed seeing the best in that episode that I could, and Salty Texas C says, be good to my boy Nordporial. Of course. Whenever he's ready to pop up, we'll bring him on. And absolutely, we'll have a good time. We always have a good time on the Ryder Brothers. Isn't that right, boys? And Ryder sister? So yeah, it was like, okay, first of all, like, probably the worst episode of Star Wars, which, I mean, I'm sorry, you know, and I want to clear the air real quick from my perspective. I don't care that Lizzo was in it. While I don't agree with her, you know, body positivity message that, in my opinion, promotes harm. As a fellow Star Wars fan, I'm jealous for that fact that she got to be in Star Wars, but I'm not bothered by her having a part. That's really cool. I'm
jealous in the fact that I too want it.
I want to be in Star Wars too. You know, that's really all it's at for me. So no, the episode doesn't suck because Lizzo was in it. The episode sucks because it sucks. So anyway, the episode was just bad, and I'm like, wow, and then Star Wars Celebration news starts trickling in, and it just gets worse. Now we've got a Rey Palpatine movie, Skywalker movie, and she's gonna train the Jedi. Like I said, she's just gonna shove a bunch of younglings over a cliff and hope they stick the landing, because that's apparently what her training consisted of. And it was like just a constant, and then the Ahsoka trailer came out, and I was like, I mean, this is where things got a little weird for me. I watched the Ahsoka trailer for the first time, and I was like, meh. I mean, it looks like it's got some cool parts. It's got Rebels characters I like. Rebels is fantastic, by the way. And then, you know, but at the same time, I'm feeling the same jaded feeling, you know, by, what are we, like, Wednesday, Thursday, or whatever, that I was feeling at the end of Kenobi. That I just don't care about Star Wars. That I don't want to watch Star Wars. And I'm just like, I don't give a damn. Now, supposedly it's coming out that George Lucas was on the set of Ahsoka. After reading that this might be a possibility, I went back and rewatched the Ahsoka trailer, and that's when I realized I did have a good feeling about it for a reason. Because if Daddy is sitting on the set of a Star Wars show, okay, because regardless of who owns the IP, the creator, in my opinion, and I will die on this hill, you can dispute it if you want, that's okay. What?
Most writers.
The creator, regardless of who owns the IP, the creator decides the canon. And I mean, I'm open to dispute on this, but really think about what that means, what that actually is. If you come up with the idea, you create the universe, you get to decide the rules. Now, obviously, Star Trek has got muddied water because Gene Roddenberry passed away in 1991, but Star Wars, George Lucas is still alive. And so because he's still alive, him being on the set of Ahsoka gives me hope, because he is on record as stating that his trilogy and his story, episodes 1 through 6, are his story. Now, he didn't exactly articulate, oh, I don't acknowledge the Disney movie stuff, because he does like some of the Disney stuff. I believe he did like Rebels. Obviously, he started Clone Wars, and so, and I mean, personally for me, I consider Solo and Rogue One to be part of Lucas canon. But the fact that he is on the Ahsoka show uses the Veil of the Force to possibly maybe change the trilogy. just consider the possibility where this might actually churn and that things might actually be heading in a direction, because we also have to consider the fact that there is no script for the new Rey movie either. And how many other Star Wars projects, the Taika Waititi project that's been canceled, the Rian Johnson trilogy that's been canceled, all these other potential movies and stuff that were canceled haven't happened. So it seems that Kennedy was mostly doing this whole thing to try and make it harder to fire her, so that when she puts all these, movies, she could try claiming the current era nonsense and excuses. All right, real quick before we get a response, we already do have a response. Salty Texas C, nope, I couldn't disagree more. He sold it. Disney can do whatever they want. Hell, they have. This will be Ahsoka in name only. Well, those are your feelings.
No,
but go ahead, John.
I want to add to your point, and I think this is like a big thing. You're right that like
actually
change it any way that they want, and you're right that, Parker. You're also right that like the owner really is the one. It's kind of like saying like I made something, and then everybody comes in and says it's not that thing. It's like, no, everybody knows it is the thing that he originally said it is, but also like they changed it a little bit. It's like nicknames, like your parents name you and your friends name you again. Yeah. And that's just how it goes. There's now two things. And so, but here's the other thing. Writers listen to the creator when the creator walks on board. People directing listen to
that's if you want the product to be good.
Well, not just like even if you want it to be good, it's more in terms of the subconscious, he's here. Let's make sure we really get this one good. And I think that's where like the hack and slash that comes in afterwards, like a lot of the executive producers trying to change things up and trying to like market better and adapt to marketability. Like that's what butchers a lot of films. See Justice League and what Warner Brothers did to it, Batman versus Superman, and what Warner Brothers did to it. Like all the times that the EPs get involved, they start butchering it to mass appeal, but like mass appeal doesn't exist. It never has. Every marketer that goes to school learns you don't go for everybody as your target audience unless you're selling water. Like that's the problem that everybody like agrees with. So who do they go to? The creator, the guy who did it right the first time. And that's in every educated creator's brain. So when the creator's on the set, whether we want him to be involved or not, whether the studio wants him to be involved or not, he automatically is on everybody's mind. So George Lucas, stay on set. You don't get vacation anymore. If you want to save this series, you become the disciplined Jedi and you stay next to this wild republic that makes no sense.
Yeah. And I want to appeal to your and I want to appeal to your perspective a little bit here, Salty Traveling Sea, because you bring up a valid point to argue from. And I'm just speaking what I feel as a fan, looking at this stuff and seeing how, let me put it to you this way. When Disney bought Star Wars, I was excited. And I actually liked Force Awakens. I still praise Force Awakens for its use of practical and CG effects. Visually speaking, Star Wars is killing it visually and has been since 2015. I mean, they haven't really taken a whole lot of... I mean, Marvel's had to cut its budget, but Star Wars is still spending money in the right places for that. So I was excited, but I don't trust Disney to handle the canon anymore. And you bring up an excellent point in that if you are a creative, this is why you don't sell out. Lucas sold Star Wars for $4 billion, and he's not happy. I used to joke that I would sell Galaxia for $80 million, and that was the bid price to start. I have since decided I am never selling my property under any circumstance, because it's just not worth it. And so I'm saying that I follow what the creator wants to establish as canon as a fan. That's me as a fan choosing to reject the corporation. And I do the same with Star Trek. I don't care about Star Trek Discovery. I don't care about Star Trek Picard Season 1 and 2. I refer to those as the Pew cards, personally. So that we as fans do have a lot more power in what we decide we want to like. And so we do affect the overall scope of things when we... when the corporation cranks out a product with our name on it, or as you say in Ahsoka, in name only, and we go, no. they do pay attention to that, and that does matter. So, but thank you for the opinion.
It matters so much because like every marketer's goal is word of mouth. Star Wars was literally word of mouth because so many highbrow Kathleen Kennedys of the world were like, only the kids like Star Wars. Star Wars is a child's story, but look at how many stories it's shaped and become today. Like the people who are most pissed off about it are the ones that grew up with it and held on to it and saved it forever. And those are the people that made it what it is, was, and will be, because that's what passion is. And that passion doesn't come because you marketed to everyone and made a story for everyone. It's because you made the story you wanted to write. That's what George Lucas originally did. But then he let everybody tell him the story he should write.
Not exactly.
The prequel trilogy was.
No.
He listened.
No, he didn't. Close. You're on the right track. You've just got it flipped. What it was that the prequel trilogy was his idea. It was entirely him. It's just he didn't have any. He had himself surrounded by a bunch of yes men and suck-ups. He didn't have anybody there regulating his ideas and going, wait, maybe we should polish this out and maybe make this work better. Because the story of the first 3 movies is good. It's just executed badly.
Well, and I'm not saying that it, like, what I'm more focused on is the idea that it was washed in terms of it being like it was that bigger, badder, biggest, baddest we've ever seen. And that's like that the escalation of money really did influence it. Like he spent more money getting more opinions.
Can you read Salty Traveling Seas fan mail real quick? Because it goes into what you're saying.
C writes in, prequels didn't have his ex-wife to, sorry, my phone's bad, ex-wife to tell him no, or Kirshner. And yes, so like the saying no thing, but he paid a bunch of people. And that's where the yes men came in. And he's like, hey, do you guys think this is a good idea? Yeah. And it's like, why did you ask them? You paid them. They're literally getting your money. Like the people you ask are your fans. You go talk, like, go make friends with somebody who loves your product more than they love you, and then ask them what you should do and get their opinion, because they're not going to tell you what you want to hear. They're going to tell you what they want to hear. And that's what you wanted to hear, you know? And that's like the problem with echo chambers is you get into your circle, you hang with your circle, and your circle never changes. So your circle doesn't have a chance to expand. And that creates that bigger, badder. Like, what is bigger, badder? I don't know. Nobody does. That's what new, like, that's what Star Wars was. It was new. Is here's how we do it. And like Salty Traveling Sea writes in, like the ex-wife saying no, the Kirshner literally saying no, like, hey, I don't think that's gonna jive. I don't think that's gonna work with the group. Let's figure it out till it does. But then when you pay people to just come in and tell you what works and agree with you when you say it works, you're watering it down whether you want to or not. And that's, I think, something that like Kathleen Kennedy didn't notice, didn't pay attention to, but the fans did. Like the prequels got the same treatment as this new sequels did. The difference was Disney supported the showrunners and Kathleen Kennedy supported the showrunners rather than just ate it. George Lucas ate it. He ate it so much that he was willing to sell out rather than just admitting fault. Like just admitting, okay, I see what I did wrong. I hear that I did more wrong. Let's figure out exactly what I did wrong and then adapt and build better. And that was what KOTOR was. That's what KOTOR 2 was. That's what SWOTOR was. That was video games. Video games have been doing that forever. They constantly say, I hear you, let's try again. And they do.
Yeah.
But also now they're not listening either, which is kind of a frustration. So like Disney, set the standard.
Yeah.
You're the monopoly.
Yep. Scogli, real quick, anything else to add to this subject matter before we transition to Picard?
Nah, I'm right on the same page. We're arm in arm, all
right.
three skipping down the highway on that one.
Well, I do like when people agree with me. It does make the shows flow a lot more smoothly, but then it also gets boring after a while.
Oh, I can.
All right, Star Trek Picard. Hold on. Sorry, I gotta get my lighting adjusted here. There we go. There we go. Yeah, proper Picard mood. Star Trek Picard is suffering from delayed release. These last two episodes definitely pair together better than they do separately. And, yeah, so I think, non-spoiler overview for me real quick is I thought the episodes were great. I think the pacing's been fine. This is definitely a new kind of storytelling, but if it's something we're going to use often, we need to be doing at least 2 episodes a week at a minimum, if not all episodes at once, as certain fans and viewers would also prefer. Because that's the thing I've noticed a lot of the advanced screeners, because for me, I don't really care to do the whole binging thing often. If I'm in the mood, great, but most of the time, I like to take in 2 to 3 episodes. I like to chew on them. I like to think about them. I like to do weekly discussions about them. And so, that's me choosing to digest something my way. Forcing Picard on a weekly release, I think, was a big mistake overall, because a lot of the other fans that didn't get advanced screenings definitely have been turned off by it, and I think even Corione mentioned in our Discord that Picard is doing awesome, which is a bit of a change of tune. If you go back to previous episodes, it looks like he finally won over, and I think I know what did, because I know what won me over even more on this episode, and I will get into it, but yes, Picard's still rocking solid 6s and 7s for me right now. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, for me, Picard's fun. It's like I'm with you a lot on this, because I think it was written as a binge, and then sold and delivered as this episodic release, because some of these episodes are really solid chunks. Like the first 3 really, really worked together as this chunk, and then the next 3 have been working really well together. And I do see the last 2 the last episode being a cliffhanger for a week release, and then this one being an opener, but that's not how it's delivered. It's not delivered in chunks, it's delivered in all episode each week. And honestly, it feels like people are being too slow to adapt to something that already has so much proof of concept. Amazon already did batch releases, and it worked very well. I think it was Vox Machina did that one, and then one other one was similar. They have some episodic shows like Peripheral, but then Reacher was a full series. Deliver what your writers deliver. Watch it all 10 episodes in a row yourself, and then make a really educated decision rather than just assuming it's episodic because you want it to be episodic. That doesn't work. And that's where I think this episode really only slightly lost me. It was more of that okay, I'm getting tired of weekly hype and then fall asleep. Hype and then I have to take a whole week off. Even Paramount, you're your own version of Netflix, so don't copy or be the opposite of them. Instead, make your own version. Be your own variation. So what if you did do 3 episodes one week, 3 episodes the next week, 2 weeks off, 3 episodes? That would have been hype, that would be different, fun. Or I don't know. I feel we got to stop thinking that the old way worked, because the new way wouldn't exist if everybody still liked the old way, or even slightly liked the old way. It would still exist. Cable would be making it's still revenue if people liked it. So.
Yeah. So, Salty Traveling Sea writes in, it's suffering from bad pacing, bad lighting, crap story, rando TNG member berry insertions, idiotic girl power moments, and just insulting tone to the OG Trek fans. Bring on Nerdporial so I'm not the a-hole talking smack about Picard Season 3. Well, here's the thing, Salty Traveling Sea. I have successfully lured you into my trap. I hyped that Nerdporial was coming on just so you could get your opinions out, and you have to deal with the 4 of us loving Picard by yourself. I'm totally kidding. Totally kidding. I've seen,
and that's how easy my opinions sway.
yeah. Now I've sent Nerdporial the link, so if he's ready to jump in at any second, I mean, I'll bring him on right now. Absolutely. I just, I don't know, maybe something came up or whatever. But no, your opinion is welcome here. And of course, we will read and share it. I am curious if you will get into it on our, when we set spoiler alert. If you don't mind elaborating a little bit on the idiotic girl power moments, because I'm curious to see which ones you think those are. And, I mean, the story being crap for me basically hinges on the last couple of episodes. I think it's been fine so far, but again, that's just my opinion. And yeah, that's really all I'm mostly curious about is excuse me.
I'm curious about the insulting tone part. I do want to know.
So that I can actually, that one doesn't surprise me because that's
like, I want to know specifically to Salty Traveling Sea because we kind of know the dissent in the idea that like we all have our own dissent from modern Trek. So like I want to know what an actual audience, or especially somebody new to the channel, I want to see what you have to say because I want to verify that we're not making up our own echo chamber that may or may not exist.
Absolutely. Dissent is 100%. Well, I mean, it's right over John's head. We are about restoring respect into discourse. And speak of the devil 3, 4, 5 times, and he will finally appear when he feels precisely when he means to, of course. Mr. the Nerdporial Lifeform, welcome to our panel. We were so excited to get you on last week that the show just shut itself off of it from excitement. But welcome. We are currently in the middle of giving our quick non-spoiler overview, and then we'll set what I refer to as spoiler alert, and go from there and tear it apart or love on it, whatever we decide. But since you just joined in, what do you think the last couple episodes, Picard, your quick overview?
Oh, last couple episodes? Wow.
Just a quick little overview of your overall feelings. Doesn't have to do specifics.
They could have made it one episode. And I'll be honest, episode 7 felt like I was watching episode Scooby-Doo. And then episode 8 there were moments that are documented live on my live watch that I literally felt something. I just wish it felt more earned than what we got. So that's my initial take. So got 2 episodes left. I feel like I still don't know the stakes of this series. Like I know some of it, but I don't even know who the main bad guy is. And there's been hints of certain I am Locutus, but I think that's a red herring.
I think that's very possible as well. All right, Skogli, you want to go with your quick non-spoiler overview?
Sure. Yeah, I felt there was a huge momentum loss personally in episode, 7? But it's still interesting. I'm finding the cliffhangers more frustrating than intriguing, to be perfectly honest. But man, episode 8 really just picked her back up, and yeah, I'm stoked for the last 2 episodes.
Right on. And H. Marie, real quick, your non-spoiler overview.
Oh, it's definitely got me twisted around its little finger. I'm definitely interested to see what the next 2 episodes hold. I'm hoping it continues on the upswing, but again, it is still some Trek, so gotta have a little bit of good with a little bit of bad.
Yeah, no, definitely. Real quick, before we go to spoiler, we'll catch up. Eddie Arndt says, I do still like Picard, but it's frustrating me for sure. It just seems taking too long to get to the point and explain some things. It's a fair critique. I mean, when it comes down to receiving the story, that's really what it comes down to, is what do you like and why do you not like it? Donnie Pearson says, hello, PD, Poyo, H. Marie, Nerdporial, Skogli, and all. Hope everyone is well. We are doing well. Better now that you're here. And, yeah, so with that, we'll go ahead and tear into the meat and potatoes of this thing. Now, one of the things we sometimes like to do, one of the other older formulas was to do what we didn't like, and then what we did like. So, if you are feeling up to it, Nerdporial, if you would like to go first, since you do seem to be on the more dissenting opinion, and then we can try to offer counter perspective to maybe change your mind for the better. But if you'd rather we go first, that's fine too.
No, absolutely.
All right. So, yeah, we are now open to spoilers.
So, episode 8. Forget how does it begin? It begins with Vatic smoking again and
sitting on the captain's chair.
Which seems hit or miss across fans.
Sitting on the captain's chair, swinging around because that's what shapeshifters do. I mean, look at those. Remember those Dominion ships and those chairs that they had? Oh wait, they didn't. They all stood up and they had those little things on their eyes. But hey, that's a nitpick.
It's fair.
I feel like Vatic was ultimately wasted. I feel it's like they didn't know what to do with her. It seemed like they wanted to make her bad for the sake of being bad, mustache twirling and everything. And then in the last episode, they tried to make her sympathetic at the same time because she was the victim of evil bad scientist Starfleet. So I wasn't sure how to feel about her, and she's dead. I mean, according to Metalis, or maybe Metalis is lying, but she's dead. Like she's gone. Like she went out there. She like the T-1000, except unlike the T-1000 who comes back together. Apparently, she's dead, and the Shrike I feel was wasted. Like I was thinking about all 8 episodes of what we've seen of her, the Shrike, and nothing but praise. I mean, I hate to use this term because I've been reading people's reactions on Twitter, but there's a lot of clapping of seals, that just like everything that is put to them either by Mr. Metalis himself or Mr. Blass, who I may or may not have had mean exchange between, but don't do it.
Wait, I'm sorry, you had a mean exchange on the internet? I've never experienced or done such a thing. I myself am perfect. I don't know. What have I done? I've spoiled the water, bringing on another human. Ah!
Poison the well. So
apparently, Salty Traveling Seas thinks he's poisoned the well. Not at all.
No, definitely not. I just feel like I just felt like the Shrike. Like I was more. I don't know how you guys. I'm not sure where you guys feel on Nemesis. I know a lot of people do not like Nemesis. That movie's got a lot of hate. Heck, when I first saw it, I left the theater empty. Like I did not like how that ended. But one thing that I did like was the battle between the Enterprise E and the Scimitar. I mean, they obviously the movie copied too many elements of Wrath of Khan and the Undiscovered Country, especially the firing when cloaked ability. But I was more terrified of the Scimitar than I was of the Shrike. Now the Shrike started off very well, like the end of episode 1, which I think episodes 1 and 2 could have been combined for a single episode. The way that first shot of the Shrike was so menacing. It was like a scorpion, or like you have the tiny little, I think it's called the Helios, the Beverly ship, and you have the Shrike coming in like this, and it's got its mandibles ready. It's like it wants to kill. It's meant to drive fear into us, and it succeeded. Like I was so excited. The first episode got me excited, and plus hearing Dave Cullen and Mr. Burnett's been hyping this for 6 months. And I like Mr. Burnett. I mean, I don't always agree with him, but I always really enjoyed his Star Trek streams. I mean, heck, he said "fuck you." I'm sorry, PG-13, my bad. But he says
You're
"f
good,
you"
man.
to Paramount Plus.
We do give leniency to guests every now and then. Now, if you start coming back more often, I mean, yeah, we'd appreciate it if we could, keep it to 1 in a stream. But you're good, man. All
right, yeah. So it's your stream, it's your role. So, but thanks for thanks for having me on to talk. I'm kind of venting. But the things that I did like about this episode, there was that great scene. I watched it 2 or 3 times. It was just a small scene between just Geordi and Data, and I wouldn't be surprised if they had that in mind and then they tried to write to it. And the same with the final part where everybody comes together. That brought real emotions out of me, and it's not because of what the series did. It's because of Well, it's because of TNG and the movies that came before it that really started that. And then seeing Picard season 1 and what they decided to do with Data, which I think was atrocious. Like, I mean, I think Picard was. I think in that season, Picard should have been called Picard Kevorkian, Jean-Luc Kevorkian at this point. And I hated seeing that. I hated seeing there were two other, legacy characters that got killed in a horrible way. Mainly Icheb from Voyager. Like, and I show this every intro, is seeing him screaming as his ocular eye, his cybernetic eye gets ripped out of him. And I mean, like, there are dark imagery in Star Trek. I mean, there's the shot in First Contact where you see the needle going, like almost hitting Locutus's eye, but that's it. But you don't see beyond that. Whereas here, you're seeing someone screaming as they're getting. This is like a 15-second thing of him screaming as they're ripping out his eye. I'm just like, why? And then Seven kills him. Like, that's like, she's his mother. She's practically his mother. He calls her mother in that scene, and she just mercy kills him once again. Maybe Seven of Kevorkian now too. Like, so that season brought a lot of bad will to me. But I wanted to go into this season 3 with putting all that aside. I didn't see season 2.
Same.
I killed Q to basically say F you to fans who want them to go back and start over from Nemesis. At least that's my take. That's what I think is what I think was going on, or what they were thinking. So, but I went into season 3 just kind of free of all that baggage. But when they brought up older plot points from those seasons, it kind of brought the stuff. It kind of brought it back and kind of soured the milk, as you would say. But
yeah, and that's what I thought. I'm going to quickly. I would like to respond real quick and yes, just give some alternate, and then I'm going to dive into fan mail, and then John will let you give your thoughts. So what I found at first, especially I think in episode 6, when they started going back to, okay, we haven't actually walked away from all of the concepts. I started thinking, well, maybe this could be a bait and switch, or maybe the payoff is so great that this all won't matter. We'll see. But what I did find by episode 8 was what they basically did was something that the Next Generation did for Star Trek V. And that was try to explain some of the problem areas of Star Trek V and give a new perspective on the whole, that the god was actually just an alien. And then these aliens, they explore by bringing creatures to them, which is a really cool concept overall. But, of course, the big difference there is I'll still watch Star Trek V. I'm never watching season 1 of Picard again, so I at least have it there for reference, but I think that you can take a lot of those elements and just, he's basically taking the mistakes and trying to just give a new idea to push forward. And I think that was said with the line by Dr. Soong when he goes, evolution it's not about preservation, it's about taking something and moving on. And that's what I think this season has. It's acting as a bridge, and some people want to cross it, others don't quite yet. And that's why I go back to what I said. I don't know if you were lurking or watching the stream earlier, but the biggest problem I think that this show suffers from is its delayed release is really killing it. I think that's, if we had 2 episodes a week, we would have had, within 2 weeks, we would have the first and second episode, as you said. And then by second week, we would have had that 3 and 4, which was the arc that won me over. And I think that would have gone over. One of the other elements that I did like that they used was, since you referenced the Grimdark, which I agree, that Icheb scene is the most disgusting thing to be attached to Star Trek at all, especially since it was done out of not just pity spite, but spite that has now aged like milk. Since the whole thing had to do with Rap supposedly being mistreated by Kevin Spacey, yeah, he lost his lawsuit, guys. So we owe... I forgot the guy who plays his name off the top of my head. It's such a weird last name, but I follow him on Twitter too. We owe the guy who plays the original Icheb a huge apology.
He follows me on Twitter. What's funny? Yeah, I can't think of his name either.
Yeah. But we do like you, and we would love to see you back in Star Trek again. But I did like that they took the grimdark aspect of it and got me to feel feelings for blobs of goo. Because I don't know about the rest of you guys, but that changeling experiment sequence and everything was really got very uncomfortable for me by the end. I think that was episode 7. And a lot of people like complained about it, and I'm like, well, okay, but how did Section 31 develop the virus for the change
Odo.
Great Link? Right.
Odo.
But
I mean, Odo and the Homefront 2-parter, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, this, I think they felt they probably wanted to, I don't know if they
explain the process, but
explain more or something.
Anyway, sorry guys in the comments. I know a lot of you, I'm going to catch up and read some of the greatest hits, guys. We usually do try to read on top of it. We got a lot of excitement, and we're very happy to have you guys here. Let's see. Yeah, Punk Waddle says, howdy, I heard the Nerdporial was here. That's correct. And then we said, Salting Traveling Sea was excited to see you. Oh yeah, that sexy beast from Chicago is here, and I'm like, oh, well, you know, maybe sexy
dipshit.
Sexy dipshit beast. We'll go with sexy dipshit.
Not just Captain Shaw, but me.
Yeah,
I'm the original.
So no, we appreciate you coming on, because it looks like we got some of your folks that have decided to come and spend time with us, and we appreciate it all. A Man of Manthurn says, hail, and to everyone, look at the Capone of Star Trek, the Nerdporial. And let's see if we can get some.
Did you guys hear about the IMAX thing? So they're gonna be. I don't know if it's gonna be tomorrow, but there's gonna be tickets to see the last 2 episodes this week.
I wish it was. Wait, is it like all IMAXs across the country?
No, only in 10 cities, and so. Because I'm in Chicago, it's likely they're going to have one here, but they haven't really stated in other articles. It seems like they had it originally, then they kind of cut it off. So I'm curious myself. Yeah, but I'm not sure if I want to do it though. Everybody's telling me, don't do it. You're going to turn into Shellporial and everything. And I'm just like, we'll see.
You can't do it because it's not worth it. Like if it was actually hype all the way up until like this episode, you're like, dude, I cannot wait for episode 8, but look at us, we're all like, I can wait.
I would purchase, but that's because I'm enjoying it. But I would, and that's I'm very much
free. These are free. These are free.
Oh, it's a free IMAX.
So just kind of like so it's like first come first serve. So I did this.
I definitely go.
I did this for the greatest show ever. It's a show called The Rings of Power. You ever hear The Rings of Power? Great show. Gotta go see it. If you haven't watched it on Amazon, then you are a bad person if you haven't watched it.
That's right. I hate women, babies, and I don't know, whatever the buzzword of the week is.
I actually, Mr. Man Nethrin actually created a meme where he took my head from an earlier stream, so I got the headphones and everything, and they put me on Galadriel, and I was doing this. If you remember that slow motion on the horse, and she's like this, she's trying to smile. She can't smile for shit.
Oh,
there you go.
Nice.
Yeah, I have I call it Guy Porial.
Nice. All right. So, John, what are your thoughts with the last couple of episodes or so, or whichever in the last 2 you feel like talking about the spoiler version? Now that we can speak freely.
More than anything, Nerdporial's assessment about what he didn't like it really bums me out, because like that is the subjective side of it.
It bums me out, but it's fair. I don't have any issue with your thoughts at all, Brian. So
that to me is like, what's the bummer is like, you're the one that they need the most, because you're the kind of fan, like you and Parker both are the fans that kept it going. You're the reasons why Paramount even was willing to try again with Star Trek, because like there was that period between Enterprise and now where they were like, this is a dead series, this is a dead franchise, and you guys are the reason it isn't. And your opinions of it are literally like, look at my boy. Like you still want it to be good, and you're still here again. Like you have no reason to be. There's no, like, everything they've done up until today has been either disrespect or different. At no point has it been like a quality adaptation of Star Trek, and that's real bummer to hear you even here being like, this is a really great show ish. And the reasons you say ish is because of all the things that it gets wrong. That, like, I get it. If you're trying to like write a movie about the Bible, there's a lot of details that are confusing, missing weather patterns, all that stuff. But every single episode of Star Trek is in your library before it was on Paramount Plus. Like, you have no excuse. Do your homework. literally you're paid to.
Yeah.
You use so much money to not to do this bad, 8 times in a row? That's embarrassing.
Yeah, and it just seems like fans just will. It just goes to prove that fans are more attached to the name. In my opinion, they're more attached to the name than to what actually, if you really want to, break it down, what made Star Trek work in the first place. I mean, heck, even Star Wars. What made Star Wars work in the first place? And then you see stuff like, you see stuff like. I know a lot of people like Andor, and I know I'm in the deep minority here. It wasn't bad, but it didn't feel like I was watching a Star Wars show. It felt like I was watching a very slow version of The Expanse, but in a fantasy space setting kind of deal.
And that I think is the frustrating thing is they keep putting that onus on the fans. Like, we've always known that there are certain sports fans that will take their shirt off in 0-degree weather wearing the team's name on their chest, and then there's also the fans that will not show up to a game if they have to wear a jacket. Like, that's fans, they're the audience members, and for some reason the showrunners want those people to just help us, the diehards, just die easy. Like, the only reason the show exists is because the diehards convince those people to keep coming to the games.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't the showrunners that did it. The showrunners, there was so much shame. Look at William Shatner. Look at Sir Jon Stewart even. They all had an element of shame to their... Patrick Stewart. They had an element of shame to their relationship with Star Trek, a beloved franchise, as loved deeply as any or sports franchise.
Yeah.
And yet they have shame. And then they're also saying we're the problem. Yet we're the only reason there was inspiration to continue.
Yeah, and it seems that it just, especially with Patrick Stewart, it seems that he did not, and the reason why this another issue I have with Picard, and now it's improved. Now, once again, I feel Picard season 3 is the best of the new Trek. Now, I haven't seen Prodigy, so I could be wrong there. I've been recommended Prodigy by 3 different people. So Prodigy might change my mind, but so far season 3 Picard's the best of the new Trek, and so far what I'm seeing is compared to other TV I've watched just in the last year, Orville: New Horizons, the final season of Better Call Saul, the latest Stranger Things, heck, even House of the Dragon. Those were 4 shows I covered on my channel, and I thought all 4 of those are better than Picard season 3. And Star Trek is one of the best written shows out there. Like you want The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine are 2 of the best series that have ever come out on television. Like just like watching those is such a damn treat. I mean, those 2, Babylon 5. I mean, even though Babylon 5 is not part of Trek, I mean, I've been talking about Babylon 5 with my brother. He's watching that for the first time. I'm jealous. I want to see that for the first time again too. And those shows are the reason why I'm so hard on these new seasons. Because these new seasons, I mean, like, you can learn from the craft of how J. Michael Straczynski or Michael Piller or Rick Berman, how they produce those shows, and you can try and even do something even better or even greater with what they have now. I mean, there's a lot of ways to learn the craft from then and try to make it even better now. See, like, all the issues that they had and just make it better, maybe even refine it a little bit.
Not to mention, y'all have Unreal 5. Like, there's half of your production budget right there, cut in half. Like, do all of your CGI and stuff in Unreal 5. That way you're creating all of these models for future use in bigger universes and, maybe potentially licensing bigger into STO. While simultaneously, like, your writers can actually be paid more to write better and do homework every night and every day. Like, if they were legitimately watching TNG and the TOS and even Deep Space Nine while writing or while hanging out at the office, if it was just playing in the background, that would have 100% infected everything about the shows.
Yeah.
But instead, they just assumed they knew.
Yeah, real quick, Salty Traveling Sea said, yeah, the older fans kept it going before that, and it kept alive because that Trek had the human story, great characters, great writing, and 4-act play in each episode. Kurtzman Trek doesn't, and that is, just a simple fact. I'm not going to dispute. My only thing is, here's what the standard.
I said well-written point.
Yeah, no, I mean, it didn't seem to. Yeah, I didn't catch a hint of emotionally charged stuff. That seemed sounded like a Vulcan wrote it.
I've had conversations with Salty. He's been a Trek fan longer than I've been alive, and he knows his Trek really, really well. He's like, so if I value everything that he says. So sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
You need to know more about our fans.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you bringing them here to us because we want to take them all for. Expand their opinions to choose from. Now, you help me, I help you, and don't set any expectations, and it's all good. No, I wanted to say that though is that's what I think we're going to eventually get back to. That's what I think Strange New Worlds tried to be, but again, they didn't exactly do the homework required to fully grasp how to do that show properly. I still like episode 1 from season 1. To me, it's my personal Star Trek short film that predates TOS, because the ideas of Roddenberry Trek were very much front and center in that first episode, talking about unity, talking about arguing ideas and debate and not killing each other, which I think is something that we could definitely learn from in our society right now.
I covered that first episode, and I even I like what they like. I'll say this: Strange New Worlds does improve. It doesn't it's episodic, like a classic series and everything.
Yeah.
I just thought, I know you because now that you said how much you liked the first episode, I feel bad now, but I did not like the first episode. I did not like the character.
It gives you reasons.
I did not like the character of Lon and how she treated Spock. If you can,
watching it recently, I actually kind of have to agree with that. Yeah,
I didn't like the idea, or they came up with a bad reason why this planet developed war just by looking at the battle at the end of season 2 of Discovery, which. With a telescope, you're going to develop warp based on seeing
some debris should have drifted into the system and they retrieved it or something. I agree. Just observing it takes a little bit more than that.
And then the political part was probably the most batshit crazy. World War III starts because of a certain event that happened a couple years ago that I will not get into because I think politics by its very nature is divisive. But I'm looking at that. And I'm in the middle on that sort of thing, and I'm looking at that. I'm like, no, you're not convincing me.
Well,
that's me.
I was convinced, and I definitely, especially when we definitely have our shows and places for more politics. But the counterpoint to that was yes, they showed the footage from Juliet 6, but they did also show riot footage at the same time, and the primary ruling faction's colors were both blue and red. And I think that was supposed to them trying to go back to that TOS episode where it's like, you have black on left, white on right, and vice versa. And I think that's what they were trying to do.
Great episode. It's a great episode that doesn't take sides. That's the Trek that that's the Trek that I really like. That's the stuff that makes you think.
Right, and that's what I felt that SNW episode was doing, and that's why that's the important takeaway for me. Spock not wearing a shirt when he answers the communicator, bad. I can overlook them making out in the restaurant because there's no humans around, emotions are tense, and they get told to knock it off right away. So that I didn't think was out of character. Spock answering answering the phone without a shirt, no, not even young Spock would do that. But anyway, got a little sidetracked. And then, of course, a man of me that says, at Petey York, did you mean mostly peaceful protests? Like Christianity's a religion of love, Islam's a religion of peace, and that kind of feeling. Yeah, absolutely. I think did we get any other couple of comments? No. Skogly, you've been patient. Do you want to give your thoughts real quick on Picard? Give your thoughts real quick on Picard.
Yeah, I'll do it real quick. So TNG started when I was 7 years old, and I've been a loyal Star Trek fan ever since. And the last 20 years have been dour. And so far, this show has had a bunch of scenes that have just warmed my cold, dead heart. So I'm genuinely impressed because I've seen I've watched a lot of awful shit, and man, this one has made me feel a bunch of times throughout the entire season so far. It's just the things like how many people are on the Titan? Like, like
100
10.
now,
10?
like 100. Yeah, well, now probably. Because
I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's only 10. The same thing with the
That's a
Shrike.
fair
too.
point.
They're a team of like what, 5 came over to the Titan, and that was like the entire crew of the Shrike.
And then the
Well,
Shrike.
hold on.
Because they just blow the Shrike up at the
And then
end. There's no crew there to defend themselves or what? Like
and then
stuff like that. I got a big problem with.
And the observation room, like a swarm of them came out of the observation room at the end of episode 7. And I'm looking at Prophet of the Dragon. I'm like, where did they come from? Did they beam in there? I mean, you're gonna have fans out there that are gonna try and piece this together in their minds and their headcanon, because I'm one of those fans that is not willing to do that, because I think the writers should be the ones that are on top of this stuff, not the fans, but the writers themselves. So I was just like, yeah.
I like having that kind of fan-writer relationship, but not with, like, the details to the extreme that you guys just mentioned. Those are all fair complaints, and I don't really have anything for those aside from...
And there's one more.
Actually, no, wait, Scogli. Actually, no, I figured it out. You're overthinking the crew, okay? Okay, they're shapeshifters. So obviously they shapeshift themselves into little midgets or Oompa Loompas, and that's how they run the ship. And then, so the reason there's only 5 is because they had to combine like 5 Oompa Loompas to make one normal size.
All over to go over, yeah.
And remember, Jack killed 4 of those, so that's like 20 crewmen that are dead now. I'm just saying.
They come in with like fucking like they come in with energy weapons most of the time, except for when they have to fight Raffi.
Oh my God, we were livid about that. We're like, what is this? Like, they had to have a light. I mean, I hope somebody modifies those swords to be lightsabers.
Yes,
because you have to have your lightsaber fight in Star Trek, because that's the thing. So there you go.
I mean, come on, it can't get any worse from here. We might as well.
Exactly. Everybody knows the reason why the 8th movie sucked so bad was because it had the least number of lightsaber fights. That's the only reason it was bad.
Yeah, obviously. We just needed more lightsabers during episode 8. Would have been a masterpiece.
They were non-lightsaber fights, like especially at the end of 8.
That's true. They didn't actually have a saber. They didn't have any saber on saber action.
No
crossing of swords.
I've been laughing at Star Trek my entire life, so I'm cool. I'm cool.
Yeah, a man of Mentherin says, Deus Ex Worf, you are not wrong, but I mean it works in the scenes where they have him show up and save the day. And I actually thought the Deanna.
I was just like, where did he come from?
I actually thought the Riker and Troy stuff. I thought
How did he know they were there?
Because I know. Drama and cinema. That is one of those, having done some film stuff and studied it, that is one of those where they decide for, moment of action and stuff. But when you actually think about it, you're like, wait, in real life this wouldn't happen. Wait, in real life most movies wouldn't happen. But that's where it's like you have to
be careful with that, because
right.
Like, if you do stuff like that, like, it's gonna take a. I mean,
if you do it too often.
I just always, if I made a movie, I'm not a filmmaker, but if I made a movie, I would assume the audience is super intelligent enough to see bullshit, in my opinion. So in this case, like doing something like that is going to take a lot of people out.
Well, that's the freedom that you get writing books, and that's what I read. But that's the other thing, and probably why I am so lenient, is because I have written my own book, and I'm like, you know what? Unless you really unless you want to spend like a good 20 years writing your first novel, there's going to be mistakes, and that's part of how you grow. And sometimes you got to let those mistakes create opportunities for people to come in and go, hey, this doesn't make sense. And you're like, oh, I'm going to keep account of that for this sequel.
If I made a mistake like that, because I do technical stuff, if I made a mistake like that, I'd be...
Yeah, so maybe you are capable of putting out a higher quality product. I mean, I'm just speculating.
It's very so like things like that. I think it should easily be spotted. Like if I don't even consider myself an amateur, but like if I can see something like that, they can easily spot that and correct that. Well, I know there's a lot of steps. I know there's a big process that goes into it, but that's got to be checked really early.
I agree. but even then, there's just some stuff you just don't notice from the perspective of the set, though, too. When you're in that moment making some scenes, you'll actually do something and you'll think, this is going to look great on camera, and then you go back and watch it and go, oh, we don't have time or money for reshoots. Crap. Because you got that intern in the background bringing the coffee and going, wait, why didn't they see Worf when he came in? You're fired. So, no, I'm just giving alternate ideas.
That's George Lucas in the prequels.
Exactly. We were talking about at the beginning of the show.
Yes, men and everything. I think I might have gone too far with this.
No, you're great. I love you. Yeah, no, I will say for me, since I don't think I've ever actually stated it on this show, and I probably should every few weeks or whatever. So my goal for this season, similarly inspired for you, because I only watched season 1 and was like, I walked away. I don't even give season 1 or 2 that much hate. The only reason I give them hate now is because of season 3. After season 1, I walked out. Season 2, checked out the scenes with the Star Trek Online ships, because I've been playing that game since it launched, and so I've got a little bit of soft spot. Wasn't enough to get me to watch the show, though. But then season 3 hit, and I was like, I'm giving this a try, but here's my expectations. Fan service. So my expectations were met. And I know that's a low bar, but I think we've kind of hit that low bar at this point, and so that was just my... Man, maybe that was also just my coping to get myself to sit down and watch the show. So I've been enjoying it because my expectations at 0. Go ahead, Scogli.
I love the unabashed fan service. I don't know what people's problem is. I'm baffled.
Well, because they're not wrong to say, hey, don't be fooled by member berries. Look at Star Wars. Okay, they pulled that one on us. I'm not fooled by them. I'm not judging the quality of this show being good because of member berries. They're using them, in my opinion, in the appropriate sense, but that's just my opinion on it. It's not sticking the landing with everybody. It is what it is. That's why we have shows like this to talk out and say, hey, why do you like it? Well, I like it because of this. Well, why do you hate it? Well, I hate it because of, well, I'm an idiot. No, I mean because of this. I'm a shameless ball buster, man. But please, if I go too far, just say so.
Absolutely destroy me, dude.
Oh, baby, don't threaten me with a good time. No, so I've been a fan my whole life, and I mean, one of the reasons I joined the Coast Guard was because when I was looking to figure out what to do with my, wasteful loser ass, I evaluated all the branches, and that one seemed like the closest one. I mean, Space Force didn't exist at the time, and NASA, I don't even know what NASA was doing, and I didn't know anything about SpaceX. So, humanitarian armada fleet seemed pretty awesome. So that was the whole reason I went in, and I got to be, so having been in a uniformed service and actually live out my Star Trek dream in some ways, I mean, this stuff does mean a lot to me. So I don't promote it if I don't like it. But I don't go out of my way to hate things either. I don't have energy for that. I'm
exactly the same way. Like this is just, I mean, I might be accused of this quote unquote term that I still don't fully understand, hate watching. I don't hate watch stuff.
No, I don't have time.
I mean, I have friends that make fun of, I have friends who are fans of Wheel of Time book series, and what they saw on Amazon Prime is probably one of the worst things I've ever seen. The first Wheel of Time book is a great book. I mean, it's got a lot of Tolkienian aspects of it, but there's a lot of great moments that really, make you like the characters more. That really does a good job in character development. And they cut those out of the series because they didn't have enough time. And they include some of the worst writing and some of the worst editing that I've ever seen. So, but they go to town. So yeah, if you haven't, Man Manethrin, big fan. Salty, Travesty, big fan, and the White Cloaks. Those 3 are the ones that, and Prophet of the Dragon. Those are the 4 that I've been talking, because I've been reading Wheel of Time myself and doing streams talking about those books and why they're big fans, and that some of the stuff that they hear from others is they're being called all the names in the book because they believed in the source material, or they love the source material, and they want adaptations to be faithful to the source material. Yeah, it's kind of the same with me and this newer Trek, and I want that to be not only faithful to the source material, but to take the source material to a next level still having all this the stuff that made the originals great and compelling in the first place, and just taking it further. Kind of like what the Orville's doing, even though I think the Orville kind of stumbled a little bit in the last season. But last season way better than what I'm getting here, but that's just my opinion.
Well, ours too. But I think you guys are all hitting like a lot of really good points, and it's like funny because part of me is like, man, I gotta interrupt, but then you keep going. And I'm like, nope, I don't. I shouldn't. Because a lot of this, like from what you said earlier, Nerdpoil, about like the first episode with the Shrike showing up. I think this all ties in together. It's like the first episode with the Shrike, it was hype. For the first time, we saw a villain ship that was borderline the pirate ship of pirate ships in space. Everything that the censors was saying was like, these weapons are illegal against every Geneva Convention we have. And they have all of them ready, and something we've never seen. And that was nuts, right? For like that to be the episode. And then like all through this season, it's just been like a meh Master and Commander pirate ship event, right? Like it was great at first. We're hyped, and then now the ship just died for nothing. Like I really wanted this, like going back.
Don't get me started on that.
Well, that's my point. Is like it all ties in. I think we've got so many Michael Bays being given Transformers and Star Wars and Star Trek, and just all of these people are like, look at how many explosions and magics and stuff I can just stuff. And then nobody's like, hey, you guys do know that people like stories in, the story format. Like at least make a circle, a pyramid, a standard hero's journey. Do something that is a plot line that people can follow, because like that's why Transformers died, is Michael Bay never had a plot line, and that sucked. And that's all we've been paying for lately, is a lot of Michael Bays. And that's, I think, again, what we're seeing here is whoever did each of these directing cuts is like, each of them was like, here's this cool, awesome thing. Next awesome thing. Next awesome thing. And like they're trying to tie them together, but then they're also obliterating each other. And it's like rock, paper, scissors, grenade, Titan, atom bomb, like whatever we can just throw into the mix till everybody's infinity +1. And it's that exact result that, like, I don't think that this episode ended or did anything wrong. I just think it's infinity +7.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think what's going to come down to for Picard, especially for a lot of people that aren't enjoying it as much, is once all the episodes are out, I mean, my recommendation is going to be to wait a couple of weeks and then maybe try them all at once or in chunks, because it's getting the story can change perspective a little bit. Like when I tried to binge DS9 one time, I noticed that because I watched so many episodic episodes in a small chunk, that I was like, I didn't get similar magic to my first watch through. And I mean, you'll never get the same magic as a first viewing, but there's still a sense of, nostalgia that comes with it. And I was like, oh, these episodes need to be slowed down. Well, like I said, at the beginning of the show, or at the beginning of this segment, I think the big thing for people is that they just don't have all the episodes at once, whereas a lot of the other fans that did get advanced screenings did. And so we'll have to see how it plays out, though.
I think you might be onto something there. That's kind of what I noticed. I mean, a lot of people got like the first 6 episodes and really, just glowing praises. And I'm watching these first 6 episodes like back to back to back, and I'm just like, I'm not seeing this. I'm not seeing it. Like there was a moment I really liked that I agree with Mr. Burnett on, and that was, and I know I know people like Salty and others don't agree with this, but I actually really enjoyed the Rose stuff.
Same.
The Rose stuff. I actually, even though the Rose stuff, I mean, there's might be some issues with it. I was able to put aside my disbelief and actually buy into what they were saying. And for once, Picard had agency, or Patrick Stewart had some agency, being Picard. Like that, like I was like, wow, this felt like a follow up to an episode of the preemptive strike. And I'm like, and that was one thing I always enjoyed about the earlier Trek shows, not so much the original, but TNG, and especially taking it further with DS9, is just they had arcs and they followed up on them. And I felt like this episode 5, followed up on preemptive strike, because I always wondered what happened to Ro, if Ro was going to ever return, and like, because I know she was originally supposed to be on DS9, Michelle Forbes, but she had a bad agent and ended up, they ended up taking the character and making it Kara Nerys instead, which it would have been a very different show. I'm curious how it would have been, but yeah, like seeing her again and just like and her sacrificing herself, which I think there was a little bit of a problem with that, but I still felt something when I watched it, and I liked how the ship kind of postured. Now, I'm not sure why the ship had to go down because there's no gravity in space, but I
remember that really thing about drama and suspense I mentioned earlier.
I literally liked how. But what I liked, and I saw this from my reaction, is like how the ship, the large Intrepid, just gets up, slowly creeps up, gets back up, and is about like
that artistic.
They're
it's the create
9.
Yeah,
that coming out of Saturn's ring scene. Just every variation Star Trek has done of that sense is the reason why I'm still watching it.
Yeah. So, all right. We do. We are pressed for time here. So, of course, that brings us to our Mandalorian segment, and that is the Mandalorian sucks. I have spoken. Anyone else want to speak on it real quick before we move on to DS9? Because I have a feeling our guest wouldn't mind sticking around to talk Star Trek if you got the time.
I do. Mandalorian is worse than Picard season 3. Really?
You don't think
worse
so?
Than New Trek?
This episode.
Have you watched season 3 of Mando yet?
I watched only the first episode. I've seen seasons 1 and 2. Very underwhelming to me, but hey, that's just because I'm just an asshole. Excuse me.
It is the lowest budget of all the Star Wars so far. Like
even holy crap, really? Even Boba Fett?
Oh, yeah. It's worse than Book of Boba Fett. It just took a shit this week.
I don't think it took a complete dive. I think the biggest issue with it is it was very, very like objective oriented. Scobie pointed it out perfectly. It was legitimately like if Jedi Fallen Order was filmed. Like pretty everything. Like they were trying to do some fun things. They had some really new, interesting ideas, and then it was objective, check. Meet this person, check. Meet this person, check. Bad guys.
My brain was literally like overlaying on the screen. I'd see the writing on the thing, and then the box would appear and the check mark, and then like 4 objectives would appear underneath it.
Oh, dude, it was 100%. I'm 90% sure I played that mission in Cyberpunk. Like it felt exactly like a mission, but at the same time, like it's season 3 of Mandalorian, it is literally being held down by everything Kathleen Kennedy can do to hold it down. From literally like where
if you want to get into theory real quick, and I just want to spend like 5 more minutes on this and then move on to DS9 for the last 40 minutes. Because we have 2 episodes we have been well behind on, and we're not going to be doing any DS9 next week because I have a special announcement for next week's show. It's just not good, is the best way that I could say it. I mean, it's... I don't think it's going to resurrect after 2 episodes. Last week's episode was just so... It's like it's suffering from the Kenobi syndrome. But I think the reason that it's doing so bad is intentional. The reason I think it's intentional is because when Mando Season 1 came out, and when what everybody, except I guess Nerporial, was praising it, now I'll be honest, I thought it was good for Star Wars. Not like, did I praise it to be like Star Trek, even TNG worthy, but I still thought, as Eddie Arndt just writes in, Season 1 and 2 of Mando was okay, but this season, what the fuck is going on? Yes, I completely agree. What is going on? I don't know anymore, and that's why I got apathetic about it. The only reason I'm still kind of excited for Star Wars is because Lucas might have been on the set of Ahsoka. Otherwise, I don't know how these next 2 episodes, I don't know how tonight's episode is going to play out. I don't know how next week's episode is going to play out. I'm just kind of in with Star Wars, and we've got 2 great episodes of DS9 that we can definitely get into. So is there any last thoughts on Mando before we move on?
I got a question. So you have to watch Book of Boba Fett in order to watch this season, because apparently there's 2 episodes there's season 2.5 that's like deeply entrenched into Boba Fett that you have to watch in order to understand why Baby Yoda is back with the Mandalorian, even though the end of season 2 ends a certain way.
This
And I
is
can't
the-
recommend watching Book of Boba Fett. It's so bad.
This is the perfect time to just insert that cinema. The cinema rule, like, just screw it, go straight to 3. Honestly,
So is Ahsoka going to be the next series or something? Apparently, because I watched Star Wars Rebels, and I'm still like Star Wars Rebels ended on a bit of a cliffhanger for its main character. I won't say how, but it did. And it's been 5 years since the series ended. Are you going to follow that up or what? Because
That's what it
it's
looks
like kids back then are now adults now. So Jesus, like, get on with it.
why didn't Disney let Pixar run Lucasfilm? Because at least Pixar actually like aged its series with the fans that watched it as kids.
They got rid of John Lasseter. That's the problem. I mean, like Toy Story and Toy Story. You're thinking Toy Story 3, right? Like that was
like 1, 2, and 3. They were all like the same age group for like who it released to. It was like first for the 4-year-olds, then for the 7-year-olds, then for the 10-year-olds. And it like obviously the story took its story turn, and modern times got into the way. But at the same time, like at least the release schedule was consistent. Same with like Monsters Inc. Like it released right when I got into college age, which was the whole season. Like, sure, it was a prequel, but it was a whole episode about college characters. So, like, that's what Star Wars needed. That's what Star Trek needs. Is like a lot of these fans, these old fans, they do need Picard, but they need an old man doing the old man from FX thing.
nice. Good reference.
Picard literally beat, like, this is actually something I'm actually, now because we've discussed it all, like your dissent, one perfectly eloquently worded, awesome. So it like helped me realize this, but like this is the worst versions of Ocean's 13 I've ever seen. All of these people are military people, yet somehow not a single one of them went red alert to all of their friends and associates that are high-ranking members within everything, because that's what we're being given. Like Ocean's 13 would have at least skipped all of this reuniting within like the first 5 minutes, and instead we like kind of are getting an old man story who's like going through the hardest thing ever while also the most exciting thing ever, while also with the non-team.
Real quick, Super Gamecraft writes in from our Twitch stream, Star Wars died a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Well, at least the last few games have been good, and Jedi Survivor looks dope. Yeah, I'll say they've been done okay with the games. Not quite the golden age of gaming that we had in 2002, but...
Oh, no. Oh, absolutely not. Freaking, I mean, 2003, yeah, freaking KOTOR.
Jedi Outcast, Clone Wars game, there was like Rogue Squadron 3 that era too, I believe.
I never played those. I only played the first one on N64. I mean, N64 had Shadows of the Empire, which really got me into Star Wars games. Like I played Super Star Wars, which is impossible unless you have a game genie. Like that freaking game is impossible to beat.
No, not quite.
Especially once you're in Mos Eisley and you have to take on that stormtrooper transport. I'm like, how do you beat this thing?
Oh, I've beat it several times. I beat that several times. I also know the special place to go to where you jump off a cliff and there's like 5, or 20 secret hidden 1-up lives to get, so that helps you on your travels so you don't have to worry about using continues. I have beaten that game, believe it or not, and no, it is not easy. It takes a lot of time, patience, and more emphasis on the patience.
Yeah, Shadows. It was Shadows that really got me into between getting the original trilogy, the last version of the original trilogy on VHS, which was I think 95 going 96, and then 96 the following year, and 64 comes out, and Shadows of the Empire comes out. It kind of cemented me as a Star Wars fan. Seeing those movies and playing that game, it was so awesome. Like it was such an experience playing a 3D Star Wars game, especially whether you're taking your Dash Rendar going around shooting snowtroopers on Hoth, or you're in Echo Base, you're participating, fighting, taking out AT-ATs in Echo Base, or you're in space, taking out TIE fighters in the asteroid field. Like it was such an experience playing that for the first time. I've never played 3D games before, so seeing Star Wars the way it is now, like it's just it's
especially the games. I mean it's I do
like Jedi Fallen Order though. That was a great game though.
Yeah. Super Gatecraft follows up. Rogue Squadron 2 was so damn good. Jedi Fallen Order was on par with those games, in my opinion. Yeah, I still need to finish Fallen Order and get ready for Survivor, but I'll get to it when I get to it.
Rogue Squadron. Was it Bubble or is it Jedi Outcast that had the Bubble password that get you infinite health? I think it was Rogue Squadron that had Bubble. You had to type in Bubble.
Oh, yeah, no, for Jedi Outcast to get infinite health, you just use the PC version and use hacks and cheats. That's how I played on
GameCube.
Sure.
Yeah, I did it on GameCube as well, and that I will say this, the Infinite Force works infinitely better on the GameCube cheat than for the PC, because the PC, you have to program a command to refill your force, whereas Infinite Force on the GameCube version is actually Infinite Force. But all right, let's.
Star Wars had some great games. It's a shame Star Trek did not. But I remember seeing like Elite Force because I watched Voyager. I was a kid. Voyager was on late '90s or early 2000s. I remember they promoted the hell out of Elite Force, which was like the Borg. You had the Borg, and I think you had Q, and you had John Delancey in the commercial, and it was just that was like the only thing that I really noticed from Star Trek in terms of the video game medium and everything. So
yeah.
And then you got STO.
Yeah.
Brought it back to some degree, which to me, I feel like that's the only thing you could have ever done with Star Trek was either like a Tom Clancy Splinter Cell version of like one ship, because then you could do missions in that episodic nature, but otherwise it had to be an MMORPG.
No, it works as a strategy game. Star Trek Armada is a lot of fun, especially when you get 8,000 sovereign classes to take out the Borg. Just fleets and hordes of Starfleet ships. It's glorious. Speaking of Starfleet ships, all right, so let's talk about quality television once again, and not just quality television, quality Star Trek. So a little background, Mr. the Nerdporial, is Pollo Zapatos started watching Deep Space Nine for the first time. We just kind of decided to start it up after Strange New Worlds. So because of Strange New Worlds, regardless of anyone's opinion, love it, hate it, I get to watch Star Trek Deep Space Nine with my younger brother, something I've been wanting to do for a long time. So that's why we've been doing 2 episodes a week roughly to get it. And since you are a Star Trek fan, all I should have to do is read a synopsis and you should know exactly what we're talking about.
Not just a Star Trek fan, a toxic Star Trek fan.
Right, me too. Yeah, no, the well is absolutely poisoned. If you touch the Writer brothers, you are wrong by default. It's in the title. TWB, The Wrong Bros. Season 2, Episode 15, Paradise. Or is it? Storyline. Sisko and O'Brien are surveying the area surrounding the wormhole to look for habitable planets. They are stunned to find there's already a colony present in the Aurelius system. After beaming down, they find out none of their technology is working anymore. They can't beam back. It seems a duonetic field is preventing all EM activity. The villagers are survivors of a personnel transport that crashed down on the surface 10 years ago. Alexis, a woman that seems in charge of the group of people, tells of their pride in achieving to survive without using any technology. While Sisko suspects a rescue party will come soon, Alexis is convinced they're here to stay for a while and urges them to adapt to the group and abandon technology. Storyline by Arnaud Teal, I believe, which I have seen recently since I started reading these storylines and complaining about them. Since we've been going back to them this season, they've started to get better and better. Almost like somebody listened and decided to quietly change them for the better. So, this episode... Huh?
Well done. Mad hype if you did. Well done.
Yeah. This episode, in my opinion, has aged like better than a Chateau Picard, by far. Because holy crap is the relevance to today's issues just even more so. I mean, there are so many themes from this episode we can draw from, whether you could equate it to religious extremism, choosing to not forego technology willingly, but because you are forced into the circumstance, which of course that's the big plot twist. Spoiler alert for, a near 30-year-old show, or it is a 30-year-old show, near 30-year-old season. Yeah, that's kind of, it's like everyone didn't really have an option. Somebody decided to make a choice for them and build a society, and you know, after it's revealed that she was the cause of all their problems, people are confused because they're like, well, on the one hand, living without technology has been great because we have had to rely on ourselves and our natural resources. On the other hand, a lot of people died that probably wouldn't have otherwise died had we had our technology. So the ethics are just lovely gray area going into this. This is definitely classic Star Trek on display in a full 45 minutes. But guys, John, why don't you go, since you're the new kid on the block with the show? Why don't you go first?
Well, so like I think it's ridiculous that you would call that morally gray. Like almost everybody today should be aware of the term trauma bonding. Like, yeah, they survived and like sucked the suck, but that's also still PTSD. Like is forced. They had their freedoms were literally stripped from them. So whether you wanted to be good or not, it was the wrong way to do it. Like I think that's one of the unique things about like American boot camp in terms of the fact that it's not conscripted. It's like you volunteered, and as
voluntary slavery, or excuse me, socialism.
Well, as much as they say like you can't get out of it, like I watched a lot of people get out or wash out, and like
we got out of it.
Like the difference here is none of these people could get out or wash out. Like, yes, you can tell them, no, you're never getting out. If you get out, you'll never get a job, and like all that stuff, and that pressure is there, and it's legitimate to some degree. But also, like, that wasn't true. And whereas here, I was like, no, like she literally created this field and also made it true that you can't leave. There's no way you're going to build a wooden rocket ship or a stone rocket ship to get out of the field and call home. The technology is gone. So like, no, she was a tyrant, and her tyranny, sure, they survived despite it. And she was a more benevolent tyrant, but a tyrant nonetheless. And I think that's funny that you went with gray.
What is all the, because of exactly your response there, you know, what is all the good you do in the world if it started with a lie? Anyway, did the synopsis refresh?
But a literal like prison. She created an electromagnetic field prison.
Yeah, a very damaging and brutal lie, to say the least.
Freeing prison, but still prison.
Yeah. Mr. the Nerdtorial Lifeform, did the synopsis remind you which episode this was, or?
I mean, you said that this is the episode Paradise.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've watched this one, so I'm actually reading. Okay. I'm reading the synopsis too, trying to refresh. What I'm reading so far reminds me of the episode in TNG where they find you have the Shellyak, and the planet full of people that crashed there, and then they kind of developed their own like they managed to survive despite the the insane odds of dying off. And if I'm reading so far, I mean, I'm sure the themes are totally different, but like I'm just getting that vibe right now from reading the first act of this episode. But yeah, this is good. Like this is storytelling that I want to see going forward. Like I'm sick of these 10-hour movies personally, which is what I mean. Everybody, bigger channels have said Picard season 3 is. So
well,
yeah, I can't dispute that. That's a fact.
One point on that one, like the 10-hour movie, like I'm not tired of it. I'm really disappointed in it. Like Netflix really like pinned a lot of solid 10-hour movies. I can't name a few off the top of my head.
Daredevil, Jessica Jones,
Punisher,
Cobra Kai.
I'm not a huge Cobra Kai fan. I think you should leave, even though like.
Quiet. Yeah.
But to me, like I'm so into the like 10-hour movie idea, just the execution is crap. Peter Jackson killed it. Like you can watch all 12 hours of Lord of the Rings in a row and miss a day but not regret it.
Yeah, DS9. I'm going to say this. There's a 7-parter coming up pretty soon. If you watched DS9, you know what I'm talking about. And the final 10 have been done really well. I know there was a lot built up to lead to that, and they had to resolve a lot of plot points, but That's a way you can also do it too. Like they were serial. Those were like the two best examples of serialization done right in Star Trek.
Well, because it's a hybrid model.
I'm tired of failures getting the right to do this. Like, we've already seen success. We have success stories of 10-hour movies that are quality entertainment and quality writing. So, like, guys, don't take money you don't deserve. Like, know your place. And if you don't deserve to write a 10-hour movie, don't get with a team and together write a cohesive 10-hour movie. Because that's what we need. Like, that's what we want, you know? Like, you had, like, the amount of money they're getting from subscription fees alone is enough to make every Lord of the Rings every single year. And they're not. And that's really what TWB is all about. Is like, that's what started this, is we're just tired of people that literally have the money failing while the rest of us have to study for years and may never get a chance. And that's what this tyrant is. Like she's the example. These people are the electric magnetic field. Like, we could be seeing nothing but Unreal 5 generated nanites and doing their amazing CG for space battle and combat with just the greatest Tolkien style writers of all time, because, you know, the internet gives us access to all of these writers on blogs, from fan theories to all that stuff. And instead they're telling these Michael Bay style writers to butcher quality and then just bulldoze through the complaints. It's embarrassing. Like, your money is literally being wasted on every front. Like, come on.
Yeah, and just real quick, Donnie Pearson, acknowledgement in the chat, but unfortunately we're just a season too early to get right into the Defiant love, but we'll get there, I promise. This is one of those. It's very similarly inspired episode. That was actually a good reference for TNG. That I hold as one of the best TNG and probably one of the best Star Trek episodes entirely was the one with the Shellyak that you referenced. And then, of course, I mean, this one's really good in similar mindset, that the village leader is keeping people there. And I mean, well, I guess it hasn't aged that great because, you know, the villain is a female and, well, we can't have that. So.
I mean, you could make a good, like, you could make a very good, you know, menacing, you know, female, you know, antagonist.
Well, the thing is,
Star Trek has been doing it for years, giving women all of the power, from literally TOS to today. Like, not really today. Today, they're just abandoning structure for the sake of pretending like Star Trek didn't do it for every day since it existed.
Yeah.
Now it's got to appeal to a larger modern audience. That's why you have to have your rafty lightsaber, well, your rafty sword.
Star Trek used to be a safe haven among Comic-Con and all of that stuff for people that were not allowed to be public. And now they're getting this like super disrespect like they weren't. Like, one of the few shows that actually was completely okay with interracial couples was Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek.
Yep.
That was a first on national broadcast television. And Gene Roddenberry took it on the chin because he was right.
Oh, and this is my favorite thing. This is
the worst person in white America, and he was the one that was right. That was TOS. That was Star Trek Day One. And the disrespect that we're getting back.
Can you believe it? The first season of Star Trek had that moment in it, and they were being forced because the antagonists in that episode were Platonians who just they had telekinesis, so they forced them to do these things. Like they used their telekinesis to force them to kiss and all that. It was ridiculous, but yeah, it was.
But he fought back.
Yeah.
They learned the Force. They literally learned the Force in that episode.
Go ahead, Scogli.
Oh no, I was just laughing, and they fought back.
Yeah. Well, and that's and that's the thing. Like Alexis is such a very well written and compelling villain, though, and that's why.
Brilliant actress too.
Well, and the thing is, she doesn't even see herself as the villain. by the end. Like, she's not convinced that she did anything wrong.
Which is the problem with so many tyrants. Like, that's the beauty of Star Trek, is they literally paint tyranny the way it really exists. Like, we can look back through history and we can look at every king and every, like, Caesar and all of that and be like, you guys should have never tried to control everybody, obviously. But by the way, follow all of my rules or get out of my company.
Yeah, heck, Ricardo. if you watch, like, interviews with Ricardo Montalban, he said the exact same thing, and that's how he saw himself as Khan Noonien Singh. He didn't think he was he thought he was the hero of this of his story.
Yeah, there's 3 moments in the show where she makes a tough, like, call, like, lays the law down, and when she says it, her voice does this subtle little emotional, like, falter / warble, and it's really subtle and brilliant. I'm like, she genuinely, like, there's emotion there in that command. It's a brilliant actress. That's like the thing that stuck with me the most was, like, hearing that little whoop.
I think that's the ultimate, like, thing that Star Trek has always gotten right, which is command presence.
Yeah.
All of the commanders, no matter what they command, truly command the room, the stage, the scene, and Scobie, I feel like the actress was one of the few that actually demonstrated the response. Like, when a manipulative power meets a commanding power, one that actually commands respect and authority, it is.
And boy, is Cisco ever stubborn. Whew, some good character building there. He's like, God damn it, I'll get back in there. Yo, don't touch me. I'll climb back to the box myself.
What a moment, though, even in current era, to watch Avery Brooks climb back into the sweat box. I mean, the first time I saw that, I was in awe, but the second time, I mean, just having that imagery tacked onto it as well, I was just like, this is what Star Trek needs to get back to, and that's why I'm hopeful with we've seen the progress. We've seen changes with Strange New Worlds. No, they didn't quite stick the landing with everybody, but there's changes noticeable.
I forgot what this villain, this antagonist did. Alexis.
Yeah.
Holy shit! I forgot about this. She developed that duonetic device and let people die due to the heart. And she made them she gaslit them, made them believe it was a natural feature of the planet. Oh my god!
Like I said, this episode is so relevant in many ways.
Yeah, I agree.
And still, she's very noble and valiant about how she's like, I'll go back. She takes responsibility for her actions. She doesn't fight. She just okay, I'll go back. I'm responsible for this. She just accepts the consequences. I'm like, oh, man. I like what you said earlier, John, too, about the how the people just, like, decide to stay because they're like, except for those 2 little kids that are just standing there like, what? At the very, very end. They don't want to stay, those 2 little kids.
That's one thing I did like, was that there was always room for redemption for antagonists. That's why, I mean, one thing, even though I disagree with Mr. Burnett on this current season of Picard, the quality on this, but that's here nor there. I do agree that most villains are not villains in Trek; they're antagonists. Even Khan, as villainous as all the villainous things he does in Wrath of Khan, like there's a moment where, like, they have jump scares, like you're getting horror vibes from that movie. Even Khan is just simply an antagonist. I mean, especially a Space Seed version was definitely just.
I think I agree with that. Space Seed. I think in Khan he was so far gone. Though, he was consumed by the dark side. He was consumed by his Captain Ahabism of wanting nothing but revenge against Kirk, because he just had he couldn't deal with the trauma of what he experienced over the course of 15 years. Yeah.
And so when you see how he said, how he says fire in Wrath of Khan, he's just like, it's like you could tell it was years of buildup that just led to that insane release. Now, I thought it was cringy at first, but rewatching this now and just really taking note of, like, the the performances.
It's
That was
visceral.
intentional. It's crazy when
Yeah.
you think about it.
That is because you're exactly right. You're supposed to empathize with the moment of this is 15 years of vengeance and plotting and planning and happenstance, not just plotting and planning, but also the fact that, maybe it was planned.
Worlds collided.
I'd have to think about that a little bit more, actually, because they might have actually signaled for the Reliant to show up. Because they thought it was lifeless. No, never mind. Never mind. I'm getting reading too much into it. Because Khan acknowledges they just happened to show up. But he gets his opportunity. Yeah.
Why you here?
You didn't think we were supposed to be here. That's right. Never mind.
Who thought this was?
forgot
Oh,
that.
don't get me.
I'm not a real Star Trek fan because I can't remember how to quote Star Trek 2, which is not the best Star Trek movie in my opinion.
Ceti Alpha 6.
I do find it funny how, I do find it funny, and I'm not going to say names, but I have talked to some fans that do hate New Trek, and I'm like, okay, what's your favorite Star Trek film? Oh, Star Trek 2? Oh, the character-driven action movie? Really? Not the motion picture? The most Star Trek movie of them all? And in my opinion, Star Trek Beyond is even more of a Trek movie in that it captures the magic of TOS and pushes it to a modern audience, but that's an argument for
I could say it tried to kind of do things that Star Trek 3 already did, but without the impact.
Yeah, but
in my opinion,
my point is
the destruction of the Enterprise.
Yeah,
but,
that's
your number. Sorry.
Well,
no, I always hate watching the Enterprise die. I'm a ship guy, so it's always like, oh, ship. People, who cares? It's a ship.
What have I done? What you always do.
Had to. Turn death into another fighting chance for life.
Yep, I love that
There's
scene.
a big thing that Star Trek does that I think is the optimal way to deal with all of the world's issues, and I think you guys you pointed out perfectly with the antagonist thing, and I think it's the quote at the end of Ender's Game when he says once I truly know my enemy, I can then love them, and in that moment decide what to do next. And that's what Star Trek really is trying to say is technically they figured everything out. The reason that this is now utopia and they get to travel the stars in the final frontier is because they figured it all out. They're perfect. How did they get there? And that's what we witness in every episode is one more human failure versus the utopia. And I think that's such a fun challenge in writing that that's the part that's really lost is a lot of these antagonists are much more just it's the Shrike. It was, we are righteous in our indignation. You cannot overpower us because we actually do want to die. That is what Star Trek used to be about is, no, we're trying to win you back into the Federation or into the Federation, not lose you. And that's where Khan, I think, was a good story is that here's a guy who will not be won back because he is destined to be a martyr.
Oh, don't get me wrong.
All the new stuff is.
They did that with the Kalon and the Orville, the latest Orville. I mean, I kind of like what they did, but at the same time, I'm going forward. I think they did it a little too quickly, but they thought that the series was going to end.
Exactly, and they did for a third season. If that. It's not going to be it. No, thank you for reminding me. I need to do my renew the Orville video short after this. I don't think it's going to be in, but that is exactly, again, that's when you're given the time, and I think he did a great job of ending that story there, and there's a lot of things that Orville definitely did better than Star Trek. I even did a comparison on my personal channel. But I'm at the point where people say that Orville is real Star Trek, and I'm like, Orville's inspired by real Star Trek. Orville is its own thing now. But by season 3, I feel like this show and universe is its own. It's a good alternate to Star Trek, but I would call it an alternate to Star Trek the way Babylon 5 is an alternate to Star Trek, not having watched it yet, by the way.
Babylon 5 is way more serialized than even Deep Space Nine. And it's more hard science. There's elements of space opera in Babylon 5.
Yeah, but
it's there's a lot of hard science. Like the station resembles an O'Neill cylinder, and if you haven't seen Gundam, the anime Gundam, which is what the space colonies are they're all O'Neill cylinders in space.
Yeah,
It's got that more hard science fiction, and it's more dystopian than way more dystopian. Like you'll understand Earth when you watch it. Like, you know, it's a great show though. But yeah.
All right. Kind of running out of time here, so let's quickly get the storyline for this last DS9 episode, which isn't as involved, unfortunately, as Picard. It's still good. I liked it. This one is, of course, called Shadow Play. Dax wow, that's a brilliant title now that I think about it. Dax has taken a runabout to investigate a particle field in the Gamma Quadrant, and Odo has come along in the hope to find out more about his origins, which has all been spoiled in Star Trek Picard. Dax is surprised to find extremely rare Omicron particles. On the surface of a planet, they try to investigate a device releasing the particles, but get arrested by Protector Coleus? Yeah, that's right, Coleus, of a Yadaran colony. He suspects Odo and Dax have something to do with sudden disappearance of 22 people. They are able to convince him of their innocence and offer to help in the investigation. With Odo gone from the station, Kira keeps a close eye on the activities of Quark, which, much to his dismay. Then Vedic Bareil unexpectedly visits the station and wants to spend time with her. Meanwhile, Sisko tries to convince Jake to take up a job in engineering to prepare for the academy. He's convinced that Jake will want to be there. Dads set phasers to disappointment. I'm just kidding. Jake has a great story arc. This is definitely one of those episodes. Doesn't really have a whole lot of moral thought-provoking. It's more of definitely very character-driven. Of course, because by the end, as it turns out, it was just one lone survivor who was wiped out from this Dominion faction that we'll never hear of again. And, you know, he basically just has a bunch of all of his family. His entire town is a hologram, and he's living a fantasy. But what's interesting is the way the fantasy evolved, because the way he originally programmed it was so that the different hologram characters could intermingle and, through the process of their coding, have hologram babies, and therefore the children that are in this holo village are actually technically unique life forms now. So even though they might not be entirely real, they're at least real enough to him, and they feel that he's real enough to them, and they don't even know. And so it's actually a really great, touching story, I thought. It's definitely channels the optimism and just the feel-good nature that Star Trek sometimes brings. But what about you, John? What did you think of this episode?
Well, I definitely think it's very poignant in terms of like what AI truly is. Like if we're really like shooting for general artificial intelligence, that is the definition of general biological intelligence, humans, right? So we're attempting to create life. We should probably like take the time to respect it. And I think this episode goes to show what that could look like. Like, obviously, if we have a computer that can start to identify itself, it can find ways of identifying itself in a way that's more functional to us, like a hologram. And in that essence, like Cortana from Halo, we fell in love with her because she also became her own character, even though we all knew she was the computer and technically a like anthropomorphication of an AI, a general intelligence, or even a super intelligence. Like, it was still the idea that we could fall in love with a robot. And as we get closer to that, I think it's weird that even DS9 was dealing with that question. Like, a lot of people say it was this naive, just military, like, fan porn, but it turns out it was like, no, this is the only way that we could get away with dealing with this stuff, is we pretended like we already had.
Yeah.
And did it backwards. And I think that's such a genius way of, like, it proves Gene Roddenberry was onto something, is because everybody that followed in his footsteps actually wrote to that style. While the rest of them today are like, no, that style is archaic and doesn't make sense, because they never watched it. Literally, there's no excuse. Because once you watch it, you see it. You literally see how much it parallels today's debates. And at the rate of the internet, those debates are happening faster than ever, which is oddly...
If they're even happening.
Well, they are. Like, here.
I see you have an opinion that goes against mine. Well, I don't have to debate you because I'm better than you. Then no.
Of us having them and 5 people actively witnessing us having them. That's how fast they're happening. And
Oh
that's
well,
the-
like this in our controlled environment. Yeah, sorry, I just immediately went to Twitter because that's the intelligent thing to think about in an argument. It's Twitter. God damn it.
50% of all tweets on Twitter are from 10% of Twitter, if not more. So literally none of Twitter is real.
It's the none of the internet's real. None of you guys are real. You're just pre-recorded figments of my imagination, obviously.
Well, welcome to General Intelligence.
I just need
You
to
ever
will
see the,
myself like a few million more subscribers, and I can retire.
You ever see the Cowboy Bebop episode Brain Scratch? That's me. I'm just an AI on a screen.
Oh no, I don't think I've gotten to that one yet. I started that one last year, and then I was like, oh, this is really good. One season. Well, I'll
The
finish
anime,
this when I
not-
get around
not-
to it.
Not the live action.
No,
the
I
anime.
know. Yeah. No, I the anime is fantastic.
Oh, dude.
It's literally Firefly.
Understatement.
I know. That's why I'm mad there's only one season. That's why I'm slow dripping it, like super slow dripping it.
There's a movie too. There's also
Oh.
a movie.
Well, that's good. I look forward to that.
So you have to watch. So 23. So after episode 23, then watch the movie, and then watch 24 through 26.
Well, I'm
That's a
already
little
out of
inside
order for that.
baseball
But,
that you definitely need.
well, he's definitely putting the nerd into nerdporial tonight, which we absolutely appreciate because that's. I know. Right, I got to do the whole, and imagine an explosion behind me and the CSI Miami theme starting off. Yeah! See, what I like about Shadowplay, though, first of all, the fact that the title is actually way more brilliant than I initially thought. It's a shadow play because they're holograms playing the push shadow play, so it's like... But I think it's also nice to get this, because this is exactly what we wanted. This is what Strange New Worlds kind of attempted but failed, is getting that, you can have a serialized thing, but give us the occasional Star Trek one-off, And that's what I'd like to see evolve from Terry Metalis' Star Trek, like Dave Cullen suggested. You have the story, but instead of filler, give us a 45-minute conundrum.
Yeah, or do or basically just make that the A plot, your conundrum, your story, and then B plot, connected with all the other episodes, connected with a major arc. Give us something to invest in. So I mean, yeah, just don't pad it out the way I felt Picard season 3 was padding out quite a bit. Like,
let's. The reason why I also kind of cut him some slack though too is like considering the stakes that that he was given, right? Was the fact that okay, you've got to figure out the mistakes and figure out how to write the mistakes of the first two crappy seasons, while also trying to bring back a lot of the fans that have been burned in the process, and also still try to make it good. I mean.
So,
I think with what those factors considered, that's probably why I'm not taking it as hard. But
yeah.
I would say you add just one more: the bureaucracy, like the EPs. Everybody that pre-approved everything else, including Discovery. This is literally written to get the fans back while simultaneously appeal to them as if they know anything. Like, look at Tyler Sheridan over at with the Tulsa King and with 1923, 1883, and Yellowstone. Like, he's just been running that himself with his team, and executives say what they will, but those shows are killing it.
Yep.
Whereas Kurtzman is literally just letting the executives win every year.
Well, and I think that. Well, like I said, I've said on previous shows, and we'd have to get into this another time because we are pretty much at the end of our line here. I don't know. I don't know if Kurtzman's the super villain that we've made him out to be, or if he just happened to listen to the wrong people and doesn't want to take responsibility. But that's.
I mean, he did write Star Trek 2009 and Into Darkness, so.
Into Darkness was
he's
bad.
pretty much the one of the three architects of New Trek. Him, Orky, and J.J. Abrams.
Yeah. So
Anyway, it's a shame because Orky is the fan. What's weird is Orky was the Star Trek fan.
Yeah.
So that's why they got certain things right in 2009. Now I think Nero was a terrible villain, but the way that the even Pine's Enterprise, you know, offered a hand of help, despite that, was I think the most important part of the movie for me, that I still think made it better than, you know, like especially Discovery and Picard.
Yep.
Like so.
Anyway, I want to thank you for your time tonight and your discussion. Thanks for sticking around for DS9 stuff as well. That was awesome.
Awesome, dude.
Oh yeah, no, that's and we like I said,
need to rewatch these 2 episodes. I forgot about this. I forgot about Shadowplay. Shadowplay made me think of the. I'm reading this now. It made me think of. Remember that Voyager episode where the Doctor has his own family? And then like his family starts off perfect, and then B'Elanna's like, that's not really a family, and so she like makes them totally dysfunctional. Like to be a punk in the 90s, or to be a punk in the 24th century, your son has to listen to Klingon. Listen to Klingon music. What are you listening to? Klingon.
So of course, if you're not subscribed to his channel, please do so. This week on the Rogue Council on Corione's channel, we do have some special guests, so please consider that. Now, if you'd like to, after you've watched the Rogue Council, if you like car stuff and want to get some advice from manly men in cars, please check out Rancor Steve's broadcast this Thursday as well. On the replay, of course, you got to watch Rogue Council live with us and Corione and everyone else. But hey, you can always check out stuff on the replay, or if you want both of us up at the same time, that's good too. But please, of course, check him out. And of course, as I said, please subscribe to Nerdporial if you haven't already. This Saturday, I am completing my 30-second lap around the sun. And so to celebrate for next week's show, we are going to take a look back at Master and Commander. So that will be taking the place of Deep Space Nine. So no DS9 this week. But Master and Commander is the movie to watch. And we're going to
I gotta watch that. I've not seen that. It's on. I think it's on HBO Max.
Okay, you're coming back next week now. If you want to catch up on Mandalorian, go ahead, but that's optional.
Probably not. It's probably not going to happen. But like HBO, sorry, Master and Commander is something I'm really interested in, and of course I started watching the Enemy Below, which is the basis for Balance of Terror, you know, original series, you know, the Romulan episode, and of course what Captain Kirk and Star Trek was heavily based off of, and that's the Adventures of Horatio Hornblower. And they made a movie about that. I think Gregory Peck's in it, just like he was in, you know, Moby Dick. But those are things I need to check out to kind of understand the roots. The further my understanding of the roots of Star Trek, because there's a lot of them. There's a lot of stuff just to keep digging into, to just get that understanding. So
you got to write your own story. You're already paying attention enough. Take over.
Yep. Fantastic discussion. Thanks to everyone in the comments. Donnie Pearson, Eddie Arndt. I'm Peter York with the Ryder Brothers. We will see you next week.
Stay Nerdporial.
This has been a presentation of the Ryder Brothers Tuesday Night Live Show. The Ryder Brothers, restoring respect into discourse.